The story begins with a young hero named Albus standing before a grave and thinking that the world is finally at peace now that he has defeated the Demon King. But if he had just been a little bit faster, he could have saved so many lives. The scene then shifts to the kingdom of Alderia, where we see a bunch of people gathering at the royal castle for the departure ceremony of the chosen hero. Everyone wonders if he can truly defeat the Demon King for them, but one of the men says that according to the prophecy, when the Demon King rises, the chosen hero will also emerge to defeat him. He tells the masses that Albus is the hero chosen by the heavens, and they can fully trust him. Meanwhile, the king asks the Pope if Albus has arrived yet, but to his horror, the Pope reports that the hero has already left. Meanwhile, we see a girl nervously standing at the northern castle gate and trying to gather her courage to enter. One of the guards notices her and asks if there was an invisible wall in front of her. Hearing him, she nervously starts introducing herself and reveals that her name is Fiona, and she's a cleric from the countryside who wants to join the hero's party. The guards tell her that in that case, she should hurry in as the selection ceremony where the hero will personally choose his companions is happening at the royal hall right now. But instead of rushing in, Fiona looks down in disappointment and says that she would probably not get chosen, and even if she does, she won't be useful because she's even more useless than paper straws. The poor guard tries to reassure her, but Fiona remains unsure and believes that she'll just embarrass herself if she went in. Just then, a carriage passes by and the driver grabs Fiona and pulls her onto it without any warning. Thinking this is a daylight kidnapping, the guards start chasing after him, but Albus turns around and shows his hero's insignia to prove his identity. The guards become shocked to see that he is the chosen hero, and Fiona starts shaking, wondering what's even happening right now. However, Albus remains calm and invites her to join his party. Back at the royal hall, things get chaotic as everyone waits for the hero to arrive. The Pope informs the king that Albus said he would skip the ceremony because it's a waste of time. On the other hand, Fiona is still trembling with fear inside the carriage. Albus tells her to stay calm, but she calls him a fraud and says that he's trying to scam her because she's from the countryside. Hearing this, Albus tosses her his hero insignia and explains that he received it from the archbishop when he was 6 years old. Fiona realizes that it's real and scolds him for throwing it so carelessly. But Albus says time is more valuable to him than anything else and tells her that they'll reach their destination by nightfall. He reveals that their destination is the Black Scale Peak, which is the home of the Black-Winged Dragon, the strongest S-rank monster in the region. Fiona is shocked that they are headed straight into danger instead of taking a safer route. Albus casually says that it's a shortcut, to which Fiona wonders if he is insane and notices he isn't even wearing proper armor. When she asks about it, he explains that he spent the budget on the horse and wagon because mobility is more important than gear. Fiona is shocked to hear this and asks why he kidnapped her, to which Albus calmly asks if she dislikes people like him. However, Fiona is still confused and asks why he chose her and if they've met before. Albus begins to explain that when he was 5, he received a revelation from a sketchy dude claiming to be a messenger of God. In the divine language, he told him that he was for real, radiating main character energy, no cap, and that he was gonna defeat the Demon King on God. With that, his journey as the chosen hero began, and he trained every day, determined to become the strongest. After 10 years of training, he set out on his journey to defeat the Demon King, but he ended up losing because the Demon King kept spamming instant death AoE attacks, like a sweaty tryhard loser who never touches grass. During that battle, Albus died, but then woke up again on the day of his departure, and he found out that every time he dies, time resets back to the day of the departure ceremony, and he's stuck in this time loop and cursed with the power to rewind time upon death. Hearing all this, Fiona is stunned and asks if the loop will continue forever until he defeats the Demon King. Albus says this is his 36th loop, and out of all those attempts, he has only defeated the Demon King once, and his fastest run took 5 years, 3 months, and 21 days. Fiona is shocked to learn that Albus defeated the Demon King and wonders why the time loop is still repeating. Albus explains that he went full ReZero reset because it took him 5 attempts and 13 years to achieve victory, and after winning, he rushed back to his village only to hear the terrible news that his beloved dog Lucky had died just 4 years into his journey. He realizes that going slow and steady wasn't enough and that he needed to move faster. He says that if he had been quicker, the king could still walk in a peaceful kingdom, and the World Tree in the north wouldn't have been burned by the Demon King's army, and so many lives could have been saved. This made him obsessed with the idea of creating a perfect timeline, and besides that, each time he set a new record, he felt a strange rush of excitement in his brain. Hearing this, Fiona confirms that something is wrong with him and asks why he chose someone like her. But before he can answer, Albus senses the Black-Winged Dragon approaching them from above. Seeing the massive lizard, Fiona almost cries and urges Albus to hide, but Albus remains cool and tells her that they will face it head-on because they have her special magic for the situation. After that, he steps down from the carriage and tries to attract the dragon's attention. At the same time, Fiona thinks back to her childhood and how she always hoped to be useful to the hero, but felt insignificant because of being good at casting only one spell. Just then, the hero tells her to use her magic, and Fiona knocks the massive beast out using her sleeping magic. As the dragon falls on the ground, Albus tells her that the dragon's weak spot is a strange scale on its neck, but it's hard to hit. However, it's a totally different story when it's sound asleep, and with that, he starts spamming his Dragon Slash ability until he slays the S-ranked monster. After that, Albus praises Fiona and reveals that he first met her on the 6th loop of his journey. At first, he thought she was an ordinary cleric, but when he learned she had sleep magic, he realized she had incredible talent because the clerics who can put dragons to sleep are very rare. He tells her that he has traveled with many companions, and this is his honest assessment. Then he asks her to join his party. After that, they continue their journey, and Albus reflects that this dragon fight was their first major obstacle, and if the battle had started with fire breath, they wouldn't have stood a chance. He estimates that their chance of success so far is around 60 to 70%, to which Fiona asks if they are really going with those odds. She looks at him and thinks that this guy is a certified madman. After traveling for a while, Albus and Fiona finally arrive at their first town, where they plan to stay for a day. Albus shares that his personal best for defeating the Demon Lord was 5 years and 3 months, but this time he wants to finish it in 3 years. Fiona wonders if his time loops will finally end if they succeed, but Albus isn't sure. He then tells her he's going to sell the materials they got from Grimwing for about 5,000 gold. Hearing this, Fiona is excited because now she can finally eat something other than potatoes. Albus then warns Fiona not to listen to anything the townspeople say and explains that their main goal is to finish the journey as fast as possible. He believes the biggest obstacle is getting caught up in meaningless requests from people. He points out that some of the villagers are already trying to get attention with small problems, like a lost cat or a lover's quarrel. Albus tells her that he has decided firmly that ignoring them is the best course. Fiona agrees and Albus reminds her to focus only on defeating the Demon Lord. Then he heads to the weapon shop and tells Fiona not to overwork herself. While he's gone, Fiona overhears some villagers talking about how the western route was attacked by bandits again, and that the town could be in danger soon. Just then, a small boy approaches her and asks if she's an adventurer. Fiona considers leaving, but she stops when the boy says his father was killed by bandits, and that they also stole a pendant his father gave him. He begs Fiona to retrieve it, and she reassures him. But just then, Albus returns and startles her. Seeing this, the boy runs away. Fiona tells Albus about the bandits, but he refuses to get involved. Hearing this, she asks if it's okay to ignore the suffering of others, but Albus says he can't take care of every little thing and walks away. The next day, they visit the manor of the local lord, and the lord asks if they will take care of the bandits. Albus immediately agrees, and it surprises Fiona because he had refused to help just the day before. He explains that this is part of his plan to save time because the lord controls the checkpoint ahead, and if they get a pass from him, then they can take a shortcut. When the lord asks when they'll begin the mission, Albus replies that it's probably already done. In the next scene, we see the legendary mercenary group Wolfclaws fighting with the bandits. After defeating them, the captain of mercenaries confirms the job is complete and asks for the agreed payment. Everyone in the town is shocked to see such a famous group. Albus proudly announces that he asked for the job and says that if people rely on him, all requests can be solved quickly. Hearing this, Fiona asks how he contacted the group, and Albus says he had arranged it earlier. The captain of the mercenaries then approaches and asks Albus if he is the client, and Albus greets him cheerfully. The captain's curious how Albus knew how to contact them because their contact method is a secret only trusted people know. Albus explains that someone he once knew gave him the information just in case. He recalls that he met the mercenary captain in a previous loop, and the captain offered him his help. However, Albus wasn't sure if it would work in this loop, but the captain assured him they are always ready to help. Then he pays the captain and they leave. Albus then shows Fiona the pendant of the young boy's father that was recovered by the mercenaries. He explains to Fiona that in a past loop, he was very close to this group and they had helped him a lot, and these memories mean a lot to him. Later, they return the pendant to the boy, and Fiona thinks that Albus is a strange one, but deep down, he just can't ignore others. The next day, Albus urges Fiona to pack quickly so they can pick up the pace. Fiona asks why their luggage is too small, especially when they have money. But Albus reveals that they are broke again because he used all their gold to hire the mercenaries. Just then, the little boy comes and offers them anything they need, and Albus happily accepts and tells Fiona that the boy's family was once a successful merchant group, so earning their favor might be useful later. Seeing this, Fiona gets frustrated and thinks that Albus was thinking of himself the entire time. Albus remembers his childhood and his beautiful hometown, where children and adults worked side by side and used to harvest together. It was hard work, but their unity made it beautiful, and at that moment, he wanted to protect that peaceful scenery. Back in the present, they reach the next town, and Albus gathers the priests and expresses his gratitude for being chosen as the hero. He says he is proud to protect such a beautiful world, and vows to defeat the Demon Lord for the sake of peace. The priests are deeply moved and offer their full support to him. Albus thanks them and asks for access to the holy water fountain. Although the fountain is usually sealed, one of the priests give him special permission. Albus instantly rushes to fill barrels with the holy water and load them onto the carriage. Fiona is surprised to see so much legendary holy water and asks about it, to which Albus explains that it is effective for repelling monsters and it'll stop most from attacking them. Hearing this, Fiona recalls the effort it took to reach this point and how they had to disguise themselves in grizzly bear fur and nearly enter dangerous monster territory. She starts brushing the holy water on the horses, But Albus stops her and says that this method wastes the water too quickly. Instead, he installs a sprinkler system using barrels with holes that evenly distribute the holy water. Fiona is shocked by the idea and worries it might be disrespectful to waste holy water like this, but admits she was touched by Albus's noble heart and asks if he was like this since childhood. Albus reveals that it was a lie and tells her that he cried easily and was never noble. Fiona asks for the real reason he's been pushing himself so far, to which Albus explains that in the beginning, he acted on a whim. When someone told him that he was the hero, he thought it would make life easy and fun, with people spoiling him. He believed defeating the Demon King would be simple. Hearing this, Fiona gets worried by how naive and selfish that sounds, and starts wondering if she made the right decision to follow him. Albus then says that this mindset is why he's failed so many times, and reveals he now feels a lot of regret. Fiona wonders if there's another reason why he keeps repeating the loop, but before Albus can answer, a horde of goblins suddenly surround them. Albus reveals that goblins are smart enough to avoid the holy water and shoot arrows from a distance. Fiona urges him to escape quickly, but just then, a huge troll appears in front of them and blocks their path. Albus explains that trolls and goblins often team up, where one provides strength and the other intelligence. Fiona insists it's not the time for explanations and reminds him that their holy water is running out. Albus agrees and says they need to conserve energy in situations like this. He suspects the horde must have a leader and suggests that if they defeat the leader, the rest will scatter, but he's unsure what the leader might be. Meanwhile, we see the goblins' leader watching Albus from a distance and laughing at his own big brain moves. But as soon as he makes some noise, Albus shoots the little Dobby down, saying it was all a lie, and that he has already memorized the goblins' formation from a past loop, and reveals that the goblins' tactics never change, so predicting them is a piece of cake. After the leader is defeated, the troll starts charging towards the carriage, but Albus remains calm and splashes the troll with holy water before using his sword to cut through its body. While dodging its attacks like a smurf, he recalls a memory from a previous loop where the same group of monsters ambushed his team. He had managed to kill the goblin leader and troll back then, but everyone else in his team had died, including Fiona. Back in the present, Albus finishes the troll with a nasty kick from above and finally tells Fiona the truth that he continues fighting because there's someone he wants to save. A year has passed since Albus and Fiona left, and they travel steadily north across the Enner's continent. Their destination is the magic continent of Galmun, where the Demon Lord's castle is located. Fiona checks the map while sitting in the carriage and notices the nearby Lunan port, but Albus tells her they are not taking a ship this time. He plans to use a warp gate instead, which surprises Fiona, and she's shocked that such an ancient relic is nearby. Hearing this, Albus explains it will help them reach central Galmun quickly, though it comes with risks. He warns her that great hardships may be waiting ahead and asks if she will still come with him. Fiona is hesitant but decides to continue the journey with him. Eventually, they arrive at an old shrine and get out of their carriage. While standing before the warp gate, Albus explains it was placed by ancient wizards and has been active for over 1,000 years, running on limitless energy. Fiona's impressed to hear this, but just then, an old man appears behind them and startles her. He introduces himself as the shrine's guardian and says he has been protecting the gate for 40 years. He recognizes Albus as the hero and tells him he may use the gate, but he has a dying wish and asks for help. Before the old man can explain his wish, Albus immediately grabs Fiona and dashes for the warp gate, but the old man shuts it down and says that it was really rude of them. Our little speedrunner says that this trick works sometimes, but Fiona says that she feels bad for ignoring the old man and suggests they listen to him. Hearing this, Albus turns to Fiona and tells her that the old man will tell them about this rare rainbow gem that he has been searching for many years, and now finally knows the location of. He will ask them for their help and send them on a series of quests, from looking for the gem in the hidden dungeons to the west, to retrieving a flaming staff from a merchant in the south, to trade in for the key to said dungeon. He recalls how he ended up wasting an entire year on these quests and starts kicking the ground in frustration. Fiona tells him to chill while the old man quietly says that he just wants to see the jewel once. Just then, Albus turns towards the old man and calls him by his first name and title, Marius the Wise Hermit Wizard, making the old man wonder if they have met before. Albus asks if the gem is really what the old man is after, and says that sometimes the things that matter most are closer than expected, like a simple flower. Fiona wonders if Albus really plans to talk his way out of this, but the old man insists on telling the story, and explains that when he was young, he fell in love with a woman named Cecile. He chose to leave her behind to pursue magic, but before leaving, he promised her that he would return someday with the rainbow gem she always wanted to see. Decades have passed since then, and now he wishes to meet her one last time. While the old man is telling the story, Albus takes Fiona behind some rocks and makes her dress up as Cecile in order to convince the old man to forget about the gem. Fiona reluctantly plays along, and seeing her, Marius lights up with joy and apologizes for not keeping his promise. Acting as Cecile, Fiona tells him that he doesn't need to bring the gem anymore and should forget about it. But then Marius starts doubting if Cecile is really the one he made that promise to, and remembers it might have been the dancer Emeralda. Hearing this, Albus quickly tells Fiona to change into Emeralda's outfit, and once again seeing her makes the old man really excited. But then he realizes that it might have been Mary from the gambling parlor instead. Hearing this, Fiona wonders how big of a player this old man was, and changes into Mary's outfit. and once more, Marius is overjoyed to see her. Albus then asks if he's satisfied now, and the old man thanks him and says it feels like he just relived a dream. He wonders how they knew so much about him, and Fiona comments on his playful life. Marius nods and says that if he had stayed with one woman, maybe his life would have been different. He admits he has regrets but also sees them as important parts of his journey, and asks Albus what he thinks about it. Albus replies that he wants a life with no regrets and is aiming for a perfect ending. He then recalls the stories and experiences he shared with the old man in one of his previous loops, and continues that despite his current goal, he enjoyed hearing Marius' crazy stories and hopes to hear them again. Marius wonders again if they've met before, and Albus explains the whole story. After that, the old man activates the warp gate, and Albus tells him to take care of his horse, before walking towards the gate with Fiona. Marius watches them go and reflects on how strong Albus is, and wonders how many loops he has gone through with that body. Then he notices something sad in Fiona's eyes, and asks if something bad happened to her. But before Marius can say more, Fiona and Albus step through the warp gate and teleport in front of the Demon Lord's castle. However, Albus gets stuck halfway through and calls for Fiona to help. Fiona looks at him and says that maybe this is karma for how he's treated others, and jokes about leaving him stuck for 10 hours. Albus panics and starts complimenting how beautiful she looked in all the outfits before, to which Fiona smirks and says she'll make it 5 hours instead. And we continue our story with Albus recalling one of his past loops. He remembers one of his party members warning him that his sword is too chipped, and Albus knows it's worn down, but says he's come too far with it and can't change it now. Just then he notices his partner's helmet is worn out, but that friend says it's priceless because it belonged to a former hero and carries his spirit. Another member insists that investing in good gear is essential, and that the more expensive it is, the more reliable it becomes. But Albus just smiles and says that one way or another, they've made it this far to the Demon King's castle. Back to the present, Fiona is holding something in her hands that amazes her. Albus asks to see it, and after examining it, he explains that it's the Elvish magnifying glass, a magical artifact which can reveal the skill level of whatever's reflected in it. Fiona looks into it and says her level is 21, while Albus is at level 36, which doesn't surprise him since they've come here as quickly as possible. While reviewing the data in the eye, he notices a more detailed section showing stats like power, attack, magic, age, height, and weight. This embarrasses Fiona, who quickly snatches it from him and yells that he shouldn't be looking. Then she protests that it's not her fault she gained that much weight, as the elf village food was delicious. Hearing this, he says he never mentioned anything about that. When Fiona calms down and looks at the artifact again, she sees a blurry figure approaching from above. The image shows a level 65. Before she can react, Albus pushes her aside and shouts that it's a manticore. When the creature roars with a terrifying face, they start running to get away from it. As they flee, we learn that 4 months have passed since they arrived in the magical continent of Galmut, and they traveled through the elf village on their way to the Demon King's castle. After escaping the manticore, Fiona asks if it's time to head to the castle, and Albus replies that if they go now, they'll both die. Hearing this, Fiona points out that he's still in the loop, but Albus reveals that the Demon King is level 150. She gets shocked and asks if they can even beat something like that, to which Albus says they can't, but stresses that leveling up is essential. Looking at a map of the castle, he says they need to train and collect the best weapons and armor scattered across the continent. He tells Fiona that her current staff is too basic and mentions a nearby cave where they might find a magic wand that boosts her power. But Fiona gets sad and says she wants to keep her current staff because it was a gift from her master after her training ended, and that she feels her master's presence in it, which gives her strength. However, Albus uses the Elvish magnifying glass to scan the staff and reveals it only has a magic power of 15, making it useless. Fiona is shocked and accuses him of being cruel, but he replies that the numbers are cruel ones. At that moment, a memory floods his mind, and he recalls one of his past lives where his group faced the Demon King with poor gear and was completely defeated. He says that inside the castle, hopes, emotions, and dreams are nothing against the overwhelming power of the Demon Lord. Then he declares that he wants to win, and there's nothing wrong with that. Fiona understands his point and decides to get stronger even if she has to abandon her staff, and says she'll carry her master's memory in her heart. Hearing this, Albus smiles and tells her to move. Fiona thinks that not just her master's memory, but also Albus's memories are important. They continue their journey crossing caves, dangerous seas, and hidden dungeons until they reach near their destination after 2 years. We see that a manticore is roaming in the area and sneaks up behind Fiona. It lunges to attack with a deafening roar, but Fiona easily catches it. With a slight move of her new magic wand, she unleashes mystical chains that bind the creature and tells Albus that now is the time. There, we see that she's reached level 52. At that moment, Albus appears and unleashes a powerful spell, Curse of 1,000 Years, with his new weapon. The devastating blow and the weapon's effects leave the manticore destroyed and turn it into a skeleton. After that, Albus proudly flaunts his weapon and declares it's the strongest of all, and explains that the weapon was made by combining cursed weapons and armor, but his sacred gauntlets let him resist the negative effects. Hearing this, Fiona recalls that 90% of his gear was cursed, and starts to think something's not right. Albus proudly shows off his level 86 and says his weapon has the highest attack stat, but Fiona is still doubtful and mentions the dwarf who forged the weapon kept crying and laughing while making it. Albus casually says the dwarf just wanted to get it done without thinking too much. Then both of them fix their eyes on the Demon King's castle, and Albus declares he will defeat the Demon King with the power of darkness. Hearing his show-off words, Fiona wonders who's the real Demon Lord here. Inside the vast Demon King's castle, in one of the grand chambers, General Valgo, known as the Unshakable Darkness, received a report from a subordinate that the hero has arrived. Valgo looks at him disdainfully and compares the hero to a worm that cannot threaten him, but his face hardens as he concludes that letting those insects near His Majesty's chamber is unacceptable. He decides to take care of them himself and wonders how to kill the intruder, crush him, burn him, or tear off his limbs to display as a warning. He finally decides that the moment the hero steps into the room will be his last. But just then, a hidden trapdoor silently opens behind him, and Albus appears with Fiona. Valgo turns to see them and doesn't have time to react. He can only watch as the hero charges and strikes him with his weapon, sending him flying and crashing violently into the wall like a rag doll. The loud crash alerts the guards, who rush in, but Albus notes them and tells Fiona they must keep going. Despite being seriously wounded, Valgo stands up with burning rage and curses the insects who dare to attack him. He gathers his last strength and casts a powerful spell aimed at them, but before it can hit, Fiona turns and activates a magical barrier that blocks the attack. After that, the muscle brain Valgo collapses, and Albus moves forward, defeating every enemy in their way with ease, while Fiona guards the rear. The guards get shocked by their general's defeat and wonders what kind of terrifying weapon the hero is using. Albus and Fiona keep moving, dodging traps with ease, and the guards are surprised at how they found a secret path. As they approach another chamber, Fiona is surprised that they're going so smoothly. Hearing this, Albus says he's been here many times and that by now, the place feels like his grandma's backyard. He suggests a short rest because the Demon King's chamber is just ahead, and Fiona nods. While resting, Fiona breaks the silence and asks something that has been bothering her. She says it may be late to ask, but wants to know why out of all the party members, only the two of them are doing this. Albus thinks for a moment and says he has traveled with many people during countless loops, but trying to move as fast as possible has led to many problems. In the end, he concluded it was better to do it this way. He remembers his first group made up of two veterans. The first member was Lauro, an elite warrior from the Southern Defense Corps, and the second one was Gina, a genius from the Royal Academy of Magic. Both were deadly in battle with abilities and magic born from intense training and experience. But Lauro moved at his own pace and was hard to manage, while Gina was obsessed with money and always complained about the rewards. In a journey where speed and saving resources were important, neither of them was a good fit. After that, he asked a mercenary leader to join him, but it was hard to convince him. His next teammate was a clever thief, Toko, who was sharp-witted but emotionally unstable. Then an astronomer joined him, but that guy was too caught up in family drama. And the next one was a mysterious hermit, then an elf with unclear motives, a wandering bard, a secret envoy from the eastern lands, and even a beast woman named Natha. Fiona listens quietly, then asks why he chose her out of all these people. Hearing this, Albus says she's neither the best nor the worst, but her slightly low self-esteem makes her easy to convince to do what he needs without much resistance. Fiona gets offended by the answer and stands up angrily, but after a few steps, she stops and admits that maybe he's right and she's just an ordinary adventurer. Albus asks if she hasn't noticed what she's accomplished and tells her she has grown into an adventurer he can trust to guard his back. She can heal even the most serious wounds with the skills of a trained priest and make smart decisions in battle, and uses magic to support him at the right moments. He states that she never loses hope and keeps going no matter how hard the path gets, and reminds her that from the very beginning, he saw her as the best choice. He believes she will continue to move forward, grow stronger, and never give up. He tells her to believe in herself because she is someone who refuses to quit, just like him. Hearing this, Fiona asks if he really expects her to believe it, but Albus calmly assures her that everything he said is true and that he's not lying. Her face lights up with genuine happiness, but Albus suddenly turns serious and tells her it's time to go to the throne room. Recalling one of his previous loops, Albus explains to Fiona that the Demon King is unique even among demons. It's said that the Demon King's wicked soul is constantly reborn by possessing a human vessel, allowing it to be resurrected again and again. Fiona is shocked to hear that the current Demon King was once a human. As she processes this, she realizes that Albus has already started fighting the Demon King without any warning. She stares at the terrifying figure of the Demon King, and then at Albus as the two rush at each other. Their enormous weapons collide with a loud crash, and Fiona watches silently. She notices the sinister smirk on the Demon King's face and remembers that Albus told her to stay back. She feels frustrated that she can't even step into a fight like that. Just then, the Demon King finally speaks and calls Albus arrogant for coming with just one companion. But Albus stays calm and explains that this is the result of carefully evaluating his strength and accuses the Demon King of not even understanding his limits. The Demon King becomes furious and charges, but Albus stops his attack just in time and explains that if he creates distance, the Demon King will cast an instant death spell, so close combat is the best strategy. The Demon King asks if this is their first meeting, and Albus replies that this is actually the 20th time. Albus swings his weapon and lands a heavy strike on the Demon King's face. Then he follows up with a powerful magic spell that summons a barrage of cursed clubs and pounds the Demon King again. Fiona watches in awe as she realizes that Albus is completely dominating the fight, and he is reading the Demon King's movements perfectly, and even using the space around them more effectively than his opponent. Until now, she had only been half convinced by his words, but seeing this, she finally believes that Albus truly has fought this battle, not just 10 but 20 times. The Demon King halts Albus's attack and mutters about how troublesome it is to use magic at such close range, since it risks bouncing back and damaging his armor. He then casts a spell that deflects Albus's attacks and quickly launches a powerful counterspell. Meanwhile, in the castle hall, Valgo is crawling toward the throne room like a beaten cockroach and vows to crush the intruders. But just then, a massive explosion shakes the entire Demon King's castle and catches him off guard. Back at the battlefield, the Demon King is standing in front of a large hole he accidentally created with his last attack. However, he's annoyed that Albus has managed to get under his skin. Albus is now lying unconscious in the rubble like he has been on a paid audition for a dead body, but his body's protected by a barrier Fiona created in the nick of time. The Demon King notices the barrier and acknowledges her skill, but he coldly remarks that crushing her would be easy. He approaches and reaches out toward her forehead, then suddenly pauses and gets silent. Meanwhile, Albus regains consciousness and realizes the Demon King has never used an attack like that before, even after all the times he has fought him. No matter how often he repeats this battle, the Demon King always surprises him. But Albus remembers how many times he has gone through this, again and again, countless times. Then he pulls himself back to his feet and wraps shards of his broken cursed weapon around his hand. Then he calls out to the Demon King, and as the Demon King turns, Albus is already on the move, launching a sneak attack that smashes the Demon King back and breaks his helmet. Fiona notices the sharp weapon fragments on his fist and realizes what he's done. She calls out to him with concern, but Albus tells her to stand back. He reminds her that if the Demon King's body is a human, then it must have the same weak points as any human. He says he isn't looking for a clean or elegant victory and slams his cursed fist into the Demon King's eye, dropping him flat to the ground. Then Albus turns to Fiona and says he has something important to tell her. Both Albus and Fiona are standing around the fallen body of the Demon King, and Fiona asks if the Demon King is defeated, but Albus stays silent. Just then she notices his arm is badly injured from the curse and offers to heal it immediately, yet he remains quiet. After a moment, Albus explains that the purpose of their journey was to narrow down their companions and eliminate wasted time. He mentions that their current record is 3 years and 6 months, the shortest so far, but it seems impossible to reduce it to less than 3 years. He adds that it took time to get the weapons and abilities needed to defeat the Demon King. Then he asks Fiona if she thinks they made it in time. Before Fiona can respond, the Demon King suddenly regains consciousness. Both Albus and Fiona turn to look at him. Fiona says she feels like she knows the person beneath the Demon King. However, Albus remains silent and recalls a past loop in which Gina notices the dark smoke leaving the Demon King's body, while Lauro asks Albus if they defeated the Demon King. Albus nods and approaches the body, but Lauro warns him to step back since the Demon King might still be alive. However, Albus ignores the warning and removes the Demon King's helmet, and they are shocked to see a normal human underneath. They wonder if this man was only a vessel, and the man speaks up and asks them to finish him off. Gina wonders if his human consciousness has returned and if they can still save him, but the man refuses and says that he doesn't want to be possessed anymore and doesn't care what happens to him. He begs them to save a child instead, someone chosen as the Demon King's next vessel, along with him, and explains that these children are marked by the curse. Scene shifts back to the present, and Fiona calls the Demon King Big Brother and rushes towards his body. Albus quickly turns to stop her, but before he can act, Fiona is already chosen as the Demon King's next vessel. Albus immediately draws his knife and tries to attack, but Fiona moves first and severs his arm. Seeing this, Albus realizes he has failed to stop the possession in time, and Fiona, who is now possessed by the Demon King, looks at Albus and says she missed her chance and couldn't kill him right away. She seems surprised that he has been repeating this journey over and over again. Albus stares at her with anger and tells her not to call him by his name. The Demon King inside Fiona speaks again and says it is surprising that the backup vessel was so close by, and asks why Albus went through the trouble of bringing Fiona here. Albus replies that he has defeated the Demon King many times before, but each time, the Demon King possesses Fiona no matter where she is in the world, and turns everything into chaos and bloodshed. He draws his knife saying he cannot let Fiona do such a thing, and the Demon King challenges him to try and stop it here and now. Albus remembers the words of a wizard who told him that Fiona is the Demon King's vessel, and that there might be a way to prevent the possession. He explained that a certain amount of time is needed for the vessel to be completed, and suggested that if the Demon King's defeated before Fiona becomes a full vessel, it may be possible to stop it from happening. Coming back to the present, Albus realizes that he has failed once again. The Demon King asks him if he plans to start over again and calls his efforts meaningless, saying that no matter how many times he tries, the outcome will always be the same. But Albus responds that he will save Fiona no matter what. Then he activates his ultimate dimensional magic to change the world itself. The Demon King is shocked that Albus has the power to rewind the entire world, and Albus declares that he will defeat the Demon King and save Fiona before she becomes the vessel. Time resets completely, returning to the day of Albus's departure. Fiona is standing nervously outside the royal palace, too scared to enter. At that moment, Albus arrives in his carriage, just like he did before, and kidnaps Fiona without warning. As the guard chases after him, he shows his hero insignia to them, and then turns to Fiona and asks her to join his party. And we see Albus's past when he is just 7 years old. He's sitting alone and reading a book when a girl named Merida approaches and points out the massive stack of books in front of him. Albus explains that the books are sent by magic teachers from the royal capital, and they always tell him to study them, but he's already read most of them. Merida comments on how tough it must be to be the chosen hero, and says everyone must have high hopes for him. But Albus already knows some people talk behind his back and say things like how the hero is an orphan or that he's probably just a fraud. Even so, he draws strength from those voices and vows to defeat the Demon King no matter what. Merida hugs him from behind and says she looks forward to seeing him try, even if he is a little strange. The story returns to the present, and Albus reflects on that old memory, realizing how long ago it feels. Once again, he has failed to make it in time, and the Demon King has returned by taking over Fiona's body. Albus has used the powerful spell Change the World to rewind time, and each time he casts it, the world resets to the day of departure. This is the 37th loop, and his journey begins all over again. He and Fiona are now traveling together and stop to spend the night. While they are resting, Fiona calls out to him and points out that there's a monster nearby. However, Albus remains calm and tells her to deal with it, because it's just a slime. But Fiona is trembling and says she can't handle slimy creatures. Hearing this, Albus gets up with a sigh and quickly defeats the slime and teaches her to aim for the core to take it down in one hit. He thinks about how he has had the same conversation so many times before, and how raising people from the beginning is always hard. He reminds Fiona that they already fought a much more dangerous monster not long ago, and this is nothing to be afraid of. Deep inside, Albus knows Fiona will grow stronger over time, but he is still afraid of seeing things end the way they did in the previous loop. As he reflects, he also thinks how it would be nice if someone else were around to help in moments like this. Suddenly, Fiona's voice snaps him out of his thoughts as she points to another monster and says it looks cute. Albus looks at it and realizes it is a hip star, also called a phantom rat, known for using illusion magic. But before he can stop her, Fiona falls for the illusion and believes there's a beautiful flower field nearby. She runs towards it while Albus chases after her and thinks again about how troublesome raising others can be. The scene shifts again to Albus's childhood. He tells Merida that the orphanage has 6 kids and a dog, and she takes care of them all by herself, and wonders if she finds it troublesome, especially since they're not related and basically strangers. Merida is surprised by how dark his view of life is for someone so young, to which Albus sadly admits that his parents abandoned him, and that he's just an unwanted child. Merida then tells him to stop making such a sad face, and explains that she stays with everyone because being surrounded by smiles is the key to enjoying life, and that is the kind of place she has always wanted to create. Merida asks Albus what kind of world he plans to create as the hero. The scene shifts back to the present where Albus and Fiona are sitting across a campfire, and Albus starts asking her questions to get to know her better. He asks where she's from, what kind of food she likes, and if she likes animals. In his mind, he reflects that building trust from the beginning is important, and communication is the first step. He wants to ease the mood and create a relaxed atmosphere, but Fiona starts to feel overwhelmed by this rapid-fire set of questions. She wonders if she's being evaluated again. If she's useless, she might be dismissed from her party. Albus then asks her if she has any siblings, and Fiona shares that she had a brother, but he disappeared when she was only 4, and people believe that he was probably attacked by monsters. She reveals that ever since the Demon King returned, attacks have become more frequent, and this is why she chose to join the hero's party. She wants to protect others so they won't have to feel the same pain of losing someone. Albus listens and reflects that he has heard this many times, but each time it reminds him that communication still matters. Fiona asks him about his family, and Albus tells her he has lived in an orphanage for as long as he can remember. There is someone there who cared for him like a mother, but she died from an illness when he was 10. He quietly thinks about how people die so easily, and even with his power to change the world, he can't go back far enough to save her. And even if he could, he doubts what he could actually do. But what matters now is aiming for a better future, which Merida dreamed of creating. As he sinks into his thoughts, he notices Fiona's eyes filled with tears. She tells him that when he feels sad, he puts a smile on his face. Albus agrees and says it's a key to move forward. Then the scene shifts once more to the past, where Albus tells Merida there is someone he wants to protect. The scene shifts to the northern continent town of Toem. 2 men tease Master Byron about drinking too much and question what kind of cleric he is, to which Byron tells them to shut up and not boss him around. Just then, the bar owner steps in and says to let Byron drink for now because his beloved pupil has gone on a journey, and wonders if Fiona has made it to the hero's party. The scene then shifts back to Fiona and Albus on their journey to defeat the Demon Lord. They calm a bandit uprising in the merchant city of Zapata and then head to the dungeon called Orbel's underground tomb, where the boss monster Castor the Wraith is waiting. As they enter the tomb, Albus encourages Fiona to do her best, to which Fiona asks why she is there, and Albus explains that this time they're focusing on boss fights. He reminds her that last time they took the shortest route and avoided battles to achieve their fastest time, but leveling up and gathering equipment later became difficult. This time they want to level up efficiently by gaining experience points from boss fights. Albus says this boss is perfect for Fiona, but Fiona freezes in shock just as the boss attacks her. Albus warns her not to just stand still and explains that Castor is an undead monster and weak to healing magic. He tells her she can land massive damage in one hit and that this boss is easy for her. He urges her to hurry and cast the spell, but Fiona hesitates and says she can't move. Albus smiles and encourages her, telling her he knows she can do it and asks her to try a little harder. Fiona recognizes this kind look from before and recalls what Master Byron once told her. He asks why she is not casting healing magic and tells her that low-level spirits like these should be easy to handle. Fiona apologizes and Byron reminds her that she came to him because she wanted him to train her so she could join the hero's party. He points out that she had big dreams, but she underestimated the world and warns her that people like her often die first. Back in the present, Master Byron tells the bar owner that Fiona was left at their monastery when she turned 5, and she was a scared child with poor memory and a hopeless student. He didn't think she was suited for adventuring, but Byron still trained her and sent her off. He admits that Fiona's persistence was remarkable, and when he asked why she worked so hard, she said it was probably because of him. She told him about the day her brother disappeared. On that day, she heard a voice calling her from somewhere, and her brother held her hand and told her not to worry, then stepped into the dark and vanished. Fiona believed her brother died for her sake. That belief made her think she had to live for someone else's sake, and that way of living is likely why she admires the hero. The scene shifts to Fiona and Albus running through the dungeon as they flee from Castor. Albus holds Fiona in his arms as they sprint, but he slips and they both fall. Castor looms over them and is about to attack Albus, and seeing this, Fiona gathers her courage and casts healing magic. She strikes the Castor and defeats it in one hit. Her master always knew she was a kind person and believed that once she made up her mind, she would become strong. He thought that as long as she was doing something for someone else, she had the potential to become the strongest cleric. The only thing she lacked was confidence, and he hoped someone would come along who would tell her she would be fine. After the monster is defeated, Albus tells Fiona that he always believed she would be okay. Fiona smiles and silently thanks her master, feeling grateful that because of him, she's now traveling with the hero. Meanwhile, back at the bar, a drunk Byron starts encouraging Fiona and urges her to hang in there and keep going. The men sitting near him joke that if he's lonely, he should just say so, then comment that the old man is crying again. Fiona and Albus continue their journey to defeat the Demon King. Along the way, Fiona notices some strange birds running across the plains and wonders what they are. Albus explains that they're called Kebble Big Birds and are native to the Kebble Plains. He tells her that they can't fly but are known for running extremely fast across the ground, and adds that they aren't very smart, and when one bird starts running, the others follow instinctively, often without knowing why. Fiona smiles at the sight of them and thinks they're cute. Albus watches the birds and remembers a warrior who used to charge straight into battle without hesitation. He was brave and bold, but also reckless, and these birds remind him of that person. When they arrive at the city of Cabelia, Albus gives Fiona a map and asks her to run some errands. He points out the shortest route and explains the path, telling her she can cut through a residential area to save time, even though it might seem far. Fiona feels overwhelmed by the instructions and thinks the route sounds difficult and awful, but she agrees and starts her task. Her first stop is the weapon shop. The shopkeeper greets her and asks what she's looking for, to which she tells him she needs a silver sword. He says they have that one and invites her to look around at other items if she wants. Fiona remembers Albus had told her that the shopkeeper is tricky despite his friendly face. The shopkeeper watches Fiona and thinks she looks like an easy customer to fool, and considers selling her a blunt sword and throwing in a helmet and shield to increase the price. Noticing the suspicious smile on his face, Fiona gets the feeling she should leave the shop. Just then, another customer storms in and angrily complains that the sword he bought yesterday broke. The shopkeeper recognizes him and remembers that he sold him a blunt sword, but to avoid trouble, he nervously tells the man that they don't offer refunds. The customer apologizes and says maybe his swing is off or his strikes are bad, and that he's still inexperienced, which is why the sword broke. He introduces himself as Lauro Luberio, and admits it might sound embarrassing, but he wants to buy another sword. The shopkeeper smiles and thinks Lauro can't even tell the quality of the sword. Fiona can't stand it anymore and warns that Lauro is being scammed. Hearing this, Lauro grabs the shopkeeper's face and insists there's no way that could be true, and points to the shopkeeper's saintly face as proof he's not a bad person. The shopkeeper laughs and offers to pick another sword for Lauro, and thinks the leftover one will do. Lauro looks at the sword and says that it is not right, and he needs the same blunt sword from yesterday, or it's meaningless. He accuses the shopkeeper of deliberately selling him a blunt sword to train him to use any kind of sword, and become a warrior who can fight with any weapon. His expression darkens as he asks if the shopkeeper would purposely sell junk to people. He insists he's not that kind of person, and the shopkeeper finally agrees to give Lauro a discount. Lauro leaves the shop and says he obtained a dull sword and is ready to go back to training. Fiona follows him and asks if he really doesn't think he's being scammed. Lauro says life rarely goes the way you want, and whether something good or bad happens doesn't matter. He says what matters is how you see it and what you do about it, and to him, everything is a trial to make him the strongest warrior. He asks if Fiona knows anything about the hero Albus Changes. He explains he's been searching for Albus everywhere to join him in defeating the Demon King. Lauro went to the royal capital and waited at the castle for the departure ceremony, but had a strange feeling. So he waited in the castle town and then spotted the hero riding in a carriage. He ran into the street and desperately tried to catch Albus's attention, but Albus ran him over, probably speeding up. Just then, Albus appears behind them and asks why Lauro is here. Lauro kneels before Albus and says he wants to follow the hero and is sure he will be useful to him. Albus responds that Lauro would just slow him down and says he doesn't know who Lauro is and refuses to take him in. Lauro shrugs and calls it just another trial, to which Albus thinks that Lauro is a positive fool. Albus remembers a moment from a past loop when he and Lauro defeated the Demon King together. After the battle, Lauro asks what will happen to Fiona, who's lying unconscious on the floor, and wonders if Albus plans to start over. Albus says he has no choice, and Lauro tries to comfort him and says they will make it in the next loop. But Albus turns to him and says he's fired from the next loop. The scene shifts back to the present, where Albus refuses to let Lauro join his party. Hearing this, Lauro reminds him how he searched everywhere just to find him, but Albus is giving him the cold shoulder again. Lauro introduces himself once more and declares he will become the world's strongest warrior. Fiona hears this and asks if this man might be someone Albus knows, and Albus tells her that Lauro is a warrior who once traveled with him, but he doesn't know why he is here now, as this wasn't part of the plan. Fiona then asks if Albus doesn't want Lauro in his party, and Albus explains that to make their journey as fast as possible, the party needs discipline and strong coordination. He says Lauro caused the most trouble in the past, and reveals that he constantly accepted requests from townspeople and dragged the group into reckless fights that endangered everyone. He says Lauro is too optimistic, who never looks back and never gives up. Some called him the positive fool, but others knew him as the positive berserker. Fiona says she understands where Albus is coming from. Lauro notices their hushed conversation and asks what they're whispering about, and says he can't accept being rejected without showing his worth, and offers to prove himself on the spot. Just then, an old man walks up and grabs both Lauro and Albus with ease. He says the two of them are full of energy, but warns that fighting in the streets is not allowed. He says if they want a competition, he has just a thing, and then takes all of them with him and makes them sit on kebbles. The old man announces the beginning of the Big Bird Race, a popular event in Kabelia City where riders race on large kebble birds while people cheer or place bets for fun. He reveals that he is the organizer and says they're short on participants today, so he's been looking for volunteers. He tells Albus and Lauro to settle their argument through this race. Lauro asks if winning the race will let him join the party, and Albus questions if he really wants it that badly. Lauro nods, and Albus reminds him that his original goal was to grow stronger through the journey, not just defeat the Demon King. Lauro then recalls how he had simply wanted to get stronger and wasn't interested in saving the world at first, but everything changed when he saw Albus in the royal capital. Something inside him stirred like a fire, a feeling he doesn't fully understand, but it told him to follow Albus. Hearing this, Albus looks at him with surprise but says nothing. Just then, the old man calls for the race to begin with one lap around the course. As it starts, Fiona watches and notices that Albus takes an early lead with surprising speed. Albus ends up winning the race while Lauro quietly sits on the ground, accepting that he's still fired from the party. Albus notes how quick Lauro is to accept defeat, but Lauro says he will just find Albus once again on his own. Albus explains that when he uses his ability to change the world, no one's memories carry over except his own. Lauro, however, doesn't seem bothered and says it doesn't matter. He admits that his heart is burning with frustration at how powerful he feels, and with a strong desire to save Fiona too. As the second round begins, Lauro takes the lead, and he feels a strange sensation, a fire deep inside him that refuses to die out. So he pushes himself forward with everything he has. Lauro wins this time, and Albus watches with quiet realization that from the moment they reunited, he had already lost. Lauro jumps off his kebble and asks if he now has Albus's approval. Albus responds coldly and tells him to stop acting strange and just call him Albus, then says he's counting on him from now on. The next morning, Fiona and Albus get ready to leave. Fiona mentions that Lauro might have overslept, but Albus casually suggests they should just leave him behind. Lauro remembers a moment from his childhood when he promised his mother that he would grow up to be the strongest warrior, just like his father. But now he thinks about how life doesn't go the way people want. He wanted to become the strongest version of himself and show that strength is someone important, but that person's no longer here. His father once told him to become stronger, and now he believes it's true because he needs to be stronger than anyone. It has been 3 days since they left the city of Kabelia, and they are heading north, traveling through the old road in Ronda's forest. As they pass through the thick woods, tree monsters suddenly appear and begin chasing after them. Albus gets off the carriage and starts running away like a chicken, calling for Fiona and Lauro to help him. Laura watches and wonders why Albus is acting like he's playing around. Fiona takes a closer look and realizes the place is a den full of plant monsters, which is why the old road is abandoned. However, Albus insists that the path is a major shortcut if they can get through it, and Albus's careless behavior confuses Laura. But Fiona explains that Albus is always like that. Albus then says he has lured the monsters close and tells Laura to take care of them. Laura steps forward and uses his landslide skill to dig a deep trench in the ground that drives away the monsters. After that, the group gets back into their carriage and continues their journey. As they travel, Laura reflects on their 3-day journey and realizes that traveling with Fiona and Albus has made him think about many things. Fiona senses something is off and asks what's wrong, to which Laura tells her that she's too afraid of fighting and that she should be more confident and learn to fight as well. Then he turns to Albus and points out how he either gives orders from the carriage or runs away when things get serious, and says that if Albus is supposed to be the hero, he should show what real strength means. Albus replies that Laura is there to fight for him, and that it's tiring to always think about being strong, to which Laura gets annoyed. Albus then questions whether strength is really that important, and Laura shouts out that it really is, because they're aiming to defeat the Demon King, and they can't afford to be weak. Hearing this, Fiona's eyes fill with tears as she admits that someone as weak as her shouldn't even be there, to which Laura quickly clarifies that he wasn't trying to blame her. As they move on, Laura sits quietly and reflects on his past. He remembers he was born in the southwestern part of the kingdom of Ardelia, near the border with the neighboring country of Zyrim. His father was the lord in charge of defending this always dangerous border. He recalls a moment from childhood when his father pointed out the Zyrim's army fortress, and explained that even though there was a truce due to the chaos from the Demon King's revival, conflict would surely come again. Laura admired his father, who was not only a respected lord, but also a powerful warrior known throughout the kingdom. Laura wanted to become like him, not only for his pride, but also for the sake of his late mother. Determined to become stronger, he joined the Southern Guard and trained day and night with his men, and he enjoyed the process of getting stronger and believed that his father would one day praise him for it. He remembers the time he was training hard and challenging his comrades to go all out, but then someone came to tell him his father wanted to speak with him. When Laura arrived, his father shocked him by saying that no one would follow him as he was, and he could not inherit the lordship. His father stripped him of his captain duties and told him that what he needed was not more strength, but to learn what it meant to be weak. Laura was stunned, and with nothing left for him, he left home and began wandering to find his path to strength. After years of traveling and growing, he now finds himself here, traveling with Fiona and Albus. Noticing Laura is lost in thought, Albus tells him to focus because something big is coming. Suddenly, a huge tree emerges from the forest, towering over them. Fiona immediately suggests running, but Laura smiles and says he can take it down himself. Before he can charge, Albus tells him to listen to the plan and calmly explains that Fiona will act as bait to lure it to a specific spot. There, he and Laura will trap it, and once it falls, it will land in a ditch created earlier by Laura's landslide spell. And beyond that is a valley with a flowing stream, which will allow Laura to fight freely without risk of burning everything around them. They execute the plan, and Laura begins fighting the treant. As he unleashes his power, Albus explains to Fiona that Laura can convert his fighting spirit into flames, because during his last battle in a forest, this ability caused a wildfire that almost destroyed everything. Albus says that Laura's biggest flaw is not being able to hold back. He recalls how he once warned Laura that while strength is important, being able to accept the flaws and weaknesses of others is just as important, because no one is without their weaknesses. Laura remembers how he always admired his father for being strong and perfect, but also thinks back to the day his mother died. On that day, even his strong and fearless father shed tears. After defeating the treant, Laura is standing before Albus and Fiona and says that once he defeats the Demon King and becomes the strongest warrior, he wants to have a real honest conversation with his father. 3 months have passed since departure day, and it has been 1 week since Laura joined the party. They arrive at the city of Brutus, known as the City of Craftsmen. Laura looks around and explains that the city is home to the Blacksmiths Guild, the Tailors Guild, and the Architects Guild. Many traders have formed their own guilds here, and they support each other and grow together, and every guild in the city has skilled artisans. Then they visit a shop where Albus says he wants to enhance his weapon and equip everyone in the party from head to toe. The shopkeeper greets them and offers to introduce them to the finest craftsmen of the Blacksmiths Guild, but Albus already has someone in mind, and he points to a young man named Toma Bordeaux. Hearing this, the shopkeeper explains that Toma is technically a member of the guild, but still only an apprentice, and in this guild, only certified masters are allowed to take jobs. Despite that, Albus insists that it has to be from Toma, to which Laura warns that dealing with craftsmen can be troublesome, and Fiona tells Albus to follow the rules. But Albus refuses to back down and says he wants the fastest and best craftsman, and believes Toma can do it. He proposes that Toma take the master certification exam immediately. This surprises the shopkeeper, but Albus argues that if Toma becomes a master, then there should be no issue. Toma is shocked too and says that there's no way he can become a master because he's just a rookie, even though he has been part of the guild for 10 years. He admits that in the end, skill is what truly matters. Laura then asks about the details of the exam, And Toma explains that it's simple and he just has to create a masterpiece within 3 days. Lauro is shocked, but Albus remains calm and tells Toma not to overthink it. He encourages him to use the creativity he has built up over the last 10 years and reveals that he once held the title of creative director. Toma quietly considers the idea and shows the group a notebook with his concept, and his idea surprises them. 3 days later, Toma presents his work to the judges and unveils a beautifully designed blade. The judges are impressed and recognize the intricate patterns on the blade, asking if it's a rare Dardox blade. They are amazed by the level of artistry and praise Toma for his achievement. Seeing this, Fiona and Albus watch and note that the feedback has been positive so far. Next, Toma calls Lauro, who walks in wearing armor made by Toma. The judges find the armor ordinary at first, but suddenly its form shifts and transforms into a larger form with sharp arms. This catches the judges by surprise, and they're impressed by the durability and how the joints move and how aerodynamic the design is. After reviewing both pieces, the judges make their decision that Toma officially passes the Master Certification exam. At that moment, Albus remembers a moment from a past loop, about 3 years in the future, in the Dwarven nation on the Magic Continent. There, he met a traveling blacksmith with incredible skills, who was even respected by the dwarves. That blacksmith was Toma. Albus had admired his craftsmanship and asked where he had been all this time. Toma explained that he had spent a long time in the guild, but never dared to test his skills or step out. He had admired the other craftsmen so deeply that he stopped thinking about standing beside them. Toma remembers how he left his family at the age of 7 to apprentice at the blacksmith's guild. Everyone there was focused and serious, always working hard to hone their skills. Every day he learned by copying their work, and he admired their dedication so much that he never dared to see himself as their equal. But later, he realized there was nothing to be afraid of. Back in the present, Fiona asks Albus if he knew about Toma's talent from the beginning. Albus reveals that 3 days ago, before Toma started working, he reminded him of his own words that he should not be afraid. Toma had once said that no matter how much reverence he had for others, the strongest drive inside him was always the desire to create. Albus tells him that as long as he follows his heart, he's already a craftsman. After the exam, Toma shows the blade to Albus and asks what he thinks. Albus holds the blade and notes that while its appearance hasn't changed much, its performance has definitely improved. He praises the work and says he can feel the strength in it. Just then, the judges call for Toma again, and as he walks towards them, Toma reflects on how there really was nothing to fear, and everyone is genuinely happy for him. Some even scold him, saying that if he could create something like that, he should have shown them sooner. Toma returns to Albus and asks how he knows so much about the future, and Albus replies that he hasn't explained the loop yet. The next day, they visit the market, and Lauro gets excited as he looks around. Fiona notices a familiar vegetable on a cart and realizes it's something from her hometown. She then spots a few more and gets excited, and says she can finally cook a dish she remembers. The shopkeeper tells her those vegetables are rare around here, and he got them from a traveling merchant. This makes Fiona even more eager as she decides to cook dinner that night and says they will be having Boko Hot Pot, which surprises both Lauro and Albus. They ask what it is, and Fiona explains it's a traditional dish from her hometown that's easy to make and perfect for warming up. Hearing this, Albus lets out a tired sigh, and Lauro asks him what's wrong, to which Albus says he just remembered something. Lauro then recalls he recently learned that Albus has gone through this journey many times before. He starts to wonder if Albus is reacting like that because the dish might be terrible, and imagines a bizarre version of the dish with creepy ingredients. He starts getting nervous and hopes it won't turn out badly. Fiona is excited and runs off to gather ingredients. While she prepares the dish, she tells them about her past in the monastery where she grew up. She says the sisters there used to make this dish often, and they would all eat together, sometimes even cooking it as a group, and the dish holds special memories for her. Lauro watches her cooking and asks what she's doing. Fiona explains she's blanching a strange fruit, to which Lauro comments that the pot looks like a witch's cauldron, and Fiona tells him it's normal, and she's just removing the black scum. Albus, who is peeling vegetables, tells Lauro to stop complaining and keep working. This surprises Lauro, who is shocked to see Albus helping out, but Albus says that cooking is about being efficient and saving time. Fiona then gives Lauro some strange-looking vegetables, and both he and Albus start peeling them like pros. Fiona stays focused on cooking and soon finishes the soup, then pours it into bowls. Lauro takes a bite and is surprised by how good it tastes, and says that the soft vegetables and perfectly salted broth are giving a comforting flavor. Fiona says she already knew it would taste good. Then the three of them quietly enjoy the meal together. Later that night, Lauro falls asleep while Fiona is sitting alone. Albus approaches and asks if something is bothering her, to which Fiona admits the hot pot didn't taste exactly like how she remembered it. She thought she followed the recipe perfectly, but now can't stop thinking about what went wrong. Albus tells her that her memories can be unreliable, and says the food still tasted great. Fiona nods but still feels a little sad and thinks maybe she has forgotten the real taste. Albus then remembers a past moment where he's speaking to Byron and apologizes for not being able to protect Fiona. Byron thanks him for bringing back her staff and says Fiona did her duty well, and that the Demon King was defeated. A woman then serves Boko Hot Pot to Albus and says it will warm him up. Seeing this, Albus says Fiona had made it for him once before and wasn't satisfied with it, but when he tastes it now, He realized it tastes the same, and Fiona didn't remember it wrong. The woman smiles and says maybe Fiona's version tasted better in memory because they gave her good experiences to remember. Then the woman leaves and Albus turns to Byron and says there's something else he wants to ask, and that is about Fiona and her brother. Back in the present, Albus tells Fiona not to worry and says they will defeat the Demon King and go home, and when they do, they can try the real hot pot again. Inside, he silently promises himself that he will bring her back safely. Fiona smiles and says that when that day comes, she will invite him to eat it with her. After that, 4 months pass by since their departure, and we see a man named Zelark introducing himself as a traveling merchant to Fiona, to which he also tells her name. Zelark asks why she's in this situation, and Fiona explains she wanted to get water for their camp, but ended up getting caught. We see both of them are trapped inside a wooden cage and carried away by an ogre. Zelark explains that ogres, despite their appearance, are highly intelligent and use traps to hunt. He says that capturing prey alive means they want to butcher it while it's fresh. Hearing this, Fiona begins to shiver with fear, but Zelark reassures her that he has something good in his pocket and shows her the magic seeds from the magic continent that can be planted in the ground. Suddenly, the bottle with seeds slips from his hand and falls, and it frustrates Zelark while Fiona gets even more scared. At that moment, Albus appears and shoots an arrow into the ogre's eyes. The ogre screams and covers its wounded eyes and runs away, leaving the cage behind. Albus approaches the cage and asks Fiona what she's doing here. Fiona calls out to him, and Zelark is surprised to hear it is Albus, and Albus recognizes Zelark as well. After that, they head to the camping site together, and while sitting there, Zelark expresses excitement at meeting the legendary hero Albus in such a place, and calls it a lucky turn of events. Fiona asks Albus if he knows Zelark, to which Albus explains that Zelark is a traveling merchant who mainly deals in medicinal herbs and magical materials. He describes Zelark as more of a stalker or fan who unexpectedly appears in many places ahead, including the magic continent, but Albus thinks Zelark can be useful. Just then, Zelark speaks up and says it's an honor to meet the hero. Although he does not fully understand what Albus is saying, Zelark reveals that he began his journey because he wanted to be of use to the hero. He sadly lies down on the ground and admits he had a dream and mentions that he even prepared a special item for today. Fiona notices something might be wrong with him and asks about it. Zelark explains that he was attacked by bandits while sleeping the night before, and they stole almost everything he had. Hearing this, Laurel gets shocked and points out how unlucky it is that Zelark was then captured by a monster right after. Albus also sympathizes with Zelark and promises to help get his belongings back. Zelark is surprised by the offer and asks if Albus really means it, while Fiona and Laurel are confused and wonder if Albus is up to something, because helping like this feels too generous. Albus gets up and says the group that attacked Zelark is the Red Tail Bandits. He knows their base is in the Western Caves and says they're dangerous and willing to kill, but he promises they'll deal with it soon. Zelark is impressed by how quickly Albus figured everything out, and says it's like he has done this before. Fiona and Laurel also agree, and they ask Zelark why he admires Albus so much and what the dream he mentioned earlier was about. Zelark explains that he loves stories, especially tales of heroism and adventure, and those stories give him hope and fill his heart with excitement. He says that right now, a new heroic tale is being made with Albus, and he finds that amazing. He begins to share his dream, but before he can speak, the ogre from before returns and tries to attack them again. Albus warns that it's back for revenge, and Zelark quickly throws a magic seed into the ground. The seed grows into a massive plant in seconds, and a thick branch shoots out and wraps around the ogre's head, tearing it off in one swift motion. Albus praises the quick thinking, to which Zelark says he's lucky to have a few of those seeds left. Laurel watches this and wonders if Zelark might actually be stronger than he looks, to which Albus admits even he didn't know Zelark could do something like that. However, Zelark returns to what he was saying before, and says his dream is to become part of Albus' story, and he's looking forward to following and supporting him. Just then, Fiona notices that the plant is still moving wildly. Zelark says he'll take care of it, and Laurel also panics and yells at him to hurry and stop the plant. Albus thinks back to past times and admires how Zelark always shows up just when he needs help. In one of his past loops, Zelark says he guessed Albus would need him around now because the area is full of poisonous monsters and antidotes are very important. He offers a special discount on them. Albus completely ignores him and mutters which route he should take. Zelark notices and is impressed by how Albus always tries to beat the odds, and asks if Albus has ever thought about giving up or if he's ever felt broken or empty inside. Albus replies that he has long forgotten what those feelings are like. Back in the present, they arrive in front of a cave, and Fiona asks if this is the Red Tail Bandits' hideout, and suggests they retrieve Zelark's stolen belongings. Albus adds that the bandits also have a rare material called Power Gem, and he plans to take that as well. Hearing this, Fiona wonders if that was the real goal all along. Laurel gets excited and tries to rush inside, but Albus stops him and explains that only 4 guards are posted outside and shares their plan. He tells them that first, they'll sneak behind the guards, knock them out, and tie them up. Then they'll get inside quietly because their goal is to get what they came for without fighting and leave quickly. Hearing this, Laurel asks if they won't fight at all, and Albus says there are about 20 bandits inside the cave, and charging in would be too risky. But the bandits are careless and have weak security, so moving stealthily and slipping away unnoticed can work. Fiona asks if this is how Albus succeeds every time. while Laura wonders if they should just crush the bandits now to stop them from causing more trouble. Albus says no, that is not their job, and reveals that nearby guards will take care of the bandits soon, so they don't need to get involved. He tells them that they need to keep their journey quick and efficient. Zealark agrees with the plan, and even Laura reluctantly accepts it. They sneak up behind the outer guards, knock them out, and wear their clothes to hide their identities. Then they slip inside, but one of the inner guards notices them and asks if it's time for a shift change, to which Laura nervously says they're just passing through. Then Albus tells Fiona that what they want is nearby, and asks her to come with him while the rest keep watch. He tells her there's one guard in front of the storage room, and when they reach the storage room, the guard asks who they are. But Fiona quickly puts him to sleep with her magic. Albus praises Fiona's sleep magic as the best, but Fiona wonders if they are the bad guys for sneaking in like this, to which Albus says they should focus on grabbing the loot first. Suddenly, a thorny ball and chain crash toward them, but Albus quickly draws a sword and dodges the attack. Just then, a man steps out from the back room and introduces himself as Zank Samzak, the leader of the Red Tail Bandits. At the same time, Laura and Zealark also get surrounded by other bandits. Zank challenges Albus and says that if he defeats a hero, it would make him one too. Albus immediately senses that the bandits have figured out their plan. He recalls a moment from a past loop where Zealark told him that losing emotions isn't acceptable. Zealark once said that repeating the same days over and over had made him numb, to the point where he started to hate everything. But after meeting Albus, he began to see the world differently. He believed that if the journey isn't interesting, the story won't be either, and he encouraged Albus to live a little, to let his heart feel something again. Back in the present, Albus grips his sword tightly while standing in front of Zank, and in one clean motion, he spins and slashes Zank's body effortlessly. The bandits around them freeze in fear as their leader collapses. Laura looks around and wonders if he should jump into the fight too. Albus then calls out to Zealark and tells him to take action. Zealark is surprised at first but quickly smiles and says he won't hold back. He throws violet seeds into the ground, and giant wooden branches suddenly burst out and attack the surrounding bandits. The branches coil around their bodies and trap them tightly. Seeing this, Albus and Laura rush in and begin attacking the trapped enemies. Albus looks around and notices that this kind of commotion hasn't happened in any of the loops so far, and this one is louder and more unpredictable than any previous time. He thinks back to what Zealark once told him about living a little, and realizes that this thrill, this unexpected excitement, is the stimulation his heart needed. The scene shifts to the past where Zealark looks up at the sky and remembers seeing it split apart while the earth disappears beneath him. He recalls the tremendous amount of magic that surged through the world on that day when everything changed, and a memory that remains vivid in his mind. The scene shifts to a fierce battle where an army of demons attacks a group of people, and two of them are lying unconscious on the ground. A little boy is sitting beside the unconscious man, and just then, a dark silhouette looms over him and gets ready to strike, but suddenly hesitates. Suddenly, a girl appears and commands the dark figure to act, and reminds him not to hesitate just because the targets are children. The girl is Isekai'd, a general of the Demon King's army, one of the 13 Heavenfall Towers, specifically the 5th tower. The demon admits he wonders what might happen if that boy grows up and challenges the demons, fueled by a burning desire for revenge. He says it will make it far more exciting to defeat them then. Hearing this, Isekai'd says it's fine. The demon then asks her why she is still alive when she was supposed to have been killed by the hero. This makes Isekai'd angry, and she declares herself one of the Demon King's generals, and warns not to underestimate her. As they stand there, the demon reflects that time has been rewound. He recalls vague memories of this village, though he is unsure if he truly remembers it or not. Initially, he had no sense of time because he and the demons had attacked human villages many times, and it became dull and uninteresting. His duty as a general is to eliminate enemy forces and expand their territory, so he carries out his missions carefully. But then time began rewinding repeatedly, and it seems only he noticed the endless repetition. He abandoned his duties and started investigating on his own, and discovered that the center of the magic disturbances is the Demon King's castle. Inside the castle, he sees Fiona and Albus, and realizes they are the source of the change. He understands that Albus is the reason that time rewinds, and decides to observe him closely. He notes that Albus repeats the same journey countless times, and challenges the Demon King only to lose over and over. Eventually, Albus succeeds but continues to repeat the journey. He finds this fascinating and wants to learn more about him to understand Albus better. And we finally see the bigger plot twist that Zealark is the Demon King Army General, one of the 13, and the overseer of the Heavenfall Towers. He's in charge of one known as the 5th Tower. He's sitting alone in a massive library when a subordinate informs him that the humans on the upper floors have been eliminated. Then the man asks about the place, to which Zealark looks around and tells him it is a library and a treasure trove of knowledge filled with stories. He believes stories help demons understand human emotions, the hidden feelings behind their expressions. He wonders what kind of stories and emotions lie within the humans they hunt. If he could truly understand them, even killing humans might become something different, something more interesting. He admits his duties feel dull and empty, but he has been searching for an ultimate story for a long time. He remembers hero Albus and silently apologizes to him because he no longer wants to just listen to Albus' stories. Now he wants to be a part of the stories to help him, and sometimes to create unexpected twists that will stir Albus's emotions. He believes a good story needs tension, so he considers introducing a tragic turn by causing the death of one of Albus's companions. Back in the present, chaos breaks out as magical tree branches turn violent and attack Fiona and Lauro. The two of them struggle to defend themselves and fight off the branches. Zealorc is standing silently and watching the scene without doing anything to save them. Albus then appears from behind and approaches Zealorc quietly and puts a knife to his throat. He says he has suspected something was off about Zealorc, even when he acted like a harmless merchant. He says that weak attempts are not enough and then makes a shocking offer and asks Zealorc if he wants to join their group for real. This stuns Zealorc, Fiona, and Lauro, while Albus adds that the offer stays only as long as Zealorc remains useful to them. Zealorc reflects on the long journey that the hero Albus has taken. After many battles, Albus finally defeats the Demon King, but the victory is short-lived, as the Demon King returns by using the cleric Fiona as his new vessel. To create a future where Fiona does not have to die, Albus uses powerful magic to rewind the world and start his journey all over again. His goal is to save both the world and the one girl he loves, so he repeats the same path again and again. Zealorc finds this story both foolish and fascinating, and he realizes that in this strange looping world, he is somehow able to retain his memories, something even the Demon King cannot do. He begins to believe he is special. Back in the present, Albus is sitting with Fiona and Lauro and discussing the strange behavior of Zealorc, who is standing at a distance and silently waiting for orders. Albus admits that he once let Zealorc act freely because he could not understand his true intentions, but now Zealorc's behavior seems more unstable than usual, and Albus warns them to stay alert. Lauro is confused because Zealorc appears to be a human, so he asks how Albus knew he was a demon. Albus explains that he has fought countless demons, and no matter how well they disguise themselves, certain traits always give them away. He points out that demons breathe less often than humans and likely have lower heart rates, and these physical signs confirm Zealorc's true nature. Albus also mentions other details like how demons move with near-silent footsteps, how their pupils dilate when they get excited, and how they react strangely to the sounds of certain birds. Lauro is impressed and wonders if Albus is a scholar. Albus then recalls one more detail that has been bothering him. In one of the previous loops, he once asked Zealorc where he was from. Zealorc answered that he was from the western commercial city, and Albus replied that it must be Elnis, a place well known from old stories. Zealorc smiled and agreed, acting impressed by Albus's knowledge. But Albus knows that Elnis was destroyed 1,000 years ago, and realizes that Zealorc must have read about the city in books or stories, and that his understanding of the human world is outdated. What alarms Albus even more is what happens in the next loop when he meets Zealorc again, and he introduces himself in the same way that he is from the western commercial city of Elnis. In the present, Albus turns to Zealorc and asks if he has been able to retain his memories. Zealorc smirks and admits it, then asks if Albus still intends to let him join the party. Albus replies that he will, but only as long as Zealorc remains useful, to which Zealorc accepts this without hesitation and agrees to continue serving under Albus. Lauro, however, is furious and shouts that Zealorc is a demon and cannot be trusted. Albus explains that having Zealorc with them will help speed up their journey, while Lauro points out that Zealorc just tried to kill Fiona moments ago. Zealorc calmly apologizes and calls it a brief and foolish impulse. He says he dislikes conflict and insists that is exactly why he wants to join Albus. Suddenly, a man appears behind them and yells in anger, and it's Zank, the bandit leader. His sudden appearance shocks Lauro and Fiona, and Lauro curses under his breath. Zank accuses Zealorc of betrayal, saying they only ambushed the hero's party because Zealorc promised an easy victory. Zealorc smiles wickedly and says Zank was never going to win, and he only needed Zank to create a bit of fear, and now that his role is over, he can die. Zealorc throws a magic seed on the ground, and thick branches rise to trap Zank. Before they can wrap around him, Albus steps forward and cuts through them with his sword to save Zank. After that, he strikes Zank in the face and knocks him out. Zealorc gets confused by this and asks Albus if he dislikes killing people, and says Zank has done enough to deserve death. Albus replies that he isn't bothered by things like that, and he believes there's no clear line between good and evil, and admits he isn't someone who cares about moral preaching. Then he says he won't in a world shaped by Zealorc's twisted games and won't let things go the way Zealorc wants. Zealorc asks if that is so, and Albus continues and says that so far, whether it's something big or small, it feels like Zealorc has been manipulating things for his amusement. Albus says he doesn't know what Zealorc is planning, but he finds it boring and unoriginal. Zealorc is left speechless by the words, and Albus then tells him that if he still wants to stay with the party, he must follow his instructions from now on. Zealorc responds that he finds it boring, but admits he doesn't care what anyone says, and insists that he's only doing what he finds interesting. Then he throws more seeds on the ground, and magical branches burst and surround Albus, Fiona, and Lauro. Zealorc looks at them and calmly admits that for a brief moment, he felt like killing them, to which Fiona and Lauro stare at him with serious expressions and ask if that is really how he feels. Fiona looks at the magical plants and realizes they're the same ones that defeated the ogre in a single strike. Lauro, as reckless as ever, doesn't take them seriously and prepares to burn them all. But Albus quickly stops him and reminds him that they're inside a cave. and using fire carelessly would bake them all alive, to which Lauro lowers his hand and quietly asks if it's wrong for him to use his power. They all keep their eyes on the strange magical plant in front of them, while Zealurk is sitting calmly on the ground. He lets out a sigh and says he had hoped things would be resolved more peacefully, and tells Albus that he will allow him some leeway this time, though it can't be helped, and suggests they play again someday. Suddenly, an arrow flies towards Zealurk, but he dodges it with a slight movement. He turns and sees that Albus is standing with a bow and is ready to fire another shot. He praises Albus for acting so quickly and warns him about what's coming next. He says that even Albus will struggle to escape this storm of vines, and tells him to behold his power while reintroducing himself as the 5th tower among the 13 Heavenfall towers, named Zealurk. Just then, he notices a magical butterfly near his face, and Albus explains that he was wondering how these plants recognize their prey. He says that he was considering the possibility they were reacting to motion around them, and to test it, he made Fiona use her spell. Just then, we see Fiona casting the spirit summoning magic, Papilia, while summoning the spirit butterflies. She says that for now, she can only call a few at a time, but Lauro says that it's enough to create an opening, as he casts his feral slash spell and cuts down most of the magic branches, blocking their path. After that, he tells Albus to move forward and strike Zealurk. Albus charges ahead and reaches him, but Zealurk starts laughing. As Albus gets close, Zealurk summons his sharp thorny vines and traps Albus in them. Albus falls to the ground with a scream, and Fiona calls out to him in worry. We see Albus is sitting quietly while the thorns are holding him in place. Zealurk watches with satisfaction and says this is the expression he had been wanting to see. He says Albus's emotions are always shallow because he's repeated the same world too many times, and in such a world, everything goes as planned, and that kind of life doesn't stir any real emotions. Zealurk says it's almost like losing those emotions completely, and that's why he wants to add twists to make things more interesting. He believes emotions like surprise, anxiety, pain, and despair are necessary for a good story, and asks if Albus understands him. Albus responds calmly and says he remembers hearing something similar from Zealurk before, but he still does not understand anything. Zealurk is surprised and asks what he means. Albus admits that doing the same things again and again can drain excitement, but that doesn't mean he has lost his emotions. He slowly pulls the thorns out of his body and stands up. Then he walks towards Zealurk and says that his emotions are still there, but they're just not visible to Zealurk yet. Zealurk starts to step back as Albus approaches the magic plant and swings his sword to cut through it. He then tells Zealurk that even if he is one of the 13 Heavenfall towers, he is still no match for him, and slashes Zealurk, making him bleed and fall to the ground. Albus stands over him and says that he doesn't need any of his twists, and no matter what Zealurk believes, documentaries are far more interesting. He swings his sword once more to hit Zealurk and leaves him unconscious. Laura watches and starts to believe that Albus has truly been looping, and realizes that it's not about Albus's level or skills, but about something deeper that has built up over time. He notices how Albus always knows exactly where to position himself in battle, and feels that this kind of awareness can only come from long experience. Suddenly, Zealurk stands back up without a scratch, and reminds them that he is one of the 13 towers, and says he cannot allow himself to be underestimated. Lauro is shocked and realizes Zealurk had blocked Albus's final blow. Then Zealurk raises his hands and announces that he no longer wants to fight and surrenders. This stuns both Fiona and Lauro. Zealurk says he will continue to offer his services to Albus and promises not to interfere with his goals. However, he admits he is still technically a general to the Demon King's army, and says that he would prefer not to be involved with the demons and wishes to stay neutral while helping from the sidelines. Albus looks at him and agrees. Seeing this, Lauro yells at Albus and asks why he would trust Zealurk again. Albus calmly replies that he believes everything will be fine. Fiona also reminds Albus that demons are cruel and cunning. She tells him about the horrors her homeland suffered from repeated invasions by the Demon King's army, and every time a nearby village was attacked, she would hear horrifying news. Soldiers who surrendered were crucified, and villagers were burned and left in piles, and each time she heard the reports, she imagined her missing brother among the victims. She then questions Albus and asks how he can be sure Zealurk is different. Zealurk listens and admits she is right, and that he is a cruel and cunning demon, and adds that there's nothing he can do about it because that's simply how demons are. Fiona angrily responds and asks if he thinks that makes his actions excusable. Zealurk replies that he does not seek forgiveness and has no intentions of apologizing, and says demons and humans will never truly understand each other. Suddenly, Zealurk spits blood and collapses unconscious, to which Lauro comments that it seems Albus's attacks were effective after all. He asks what they should do with Zealurk, to which Albus says he has an idea. Later, Zealurk gains consciousness and asks Albus if he has made a decision, and Albus points to a glowing chain around Zealurk's neck and explains that it's a magical item called the Oath Collar. He says the collar uses oath magic to bind the wearer to a promise, and if Zealurk breaks the terms of the oath, the collar will trigger and his head will be blown off instantly. Hearing this, Zealurk calls it brutal, to which Albus says the purpose is to place restrictions on his actions. He explains that there's only one rule, that Zealurk must not lie. Zealurk asks if that is all, and Albus answers that he likes using people to reach his goals, but doesn't want a relationship based on slavery or control. Zealork says he will add an oath of his own and promises not to harm humans from now on. His declaration surprises everyone. Zealork then asks if this promise will help earn their trust. He says he has chosen to trust Albus, and with that, they seal the magic oath together. After sealing the pact, they resume their journey toward the Demon King's castle. Along the way, Loro asks Albus where he found the magical collar. Albus tells him that he got it from a hidden magic shop in the previous city, a place he had managed to find once before. Fiona walks over to Zealork and says he doesn't have to force himself, and she understands his point of view but still can't trust him. She says that since they'll be traveling together, she wants to understand who he truly is, not as Zealork the demon, but as the person behind that name. So for now, she decides to call him Zealork's son. Zealork accepts this and says he's fine with being called that, and explains again that he does not intend to stay with them forever. He wishes to remain neutral and simply observe their journey from a distance. Hearing this, Albus responds that he has different plans, and he wants Zealork to work hard. He mentions that he even stayed up all night writing a list of tasks for him, and with Zealork's power, they can expand the range of their activities. He asks Zealork to start by building a bridge across a lake. Then he suggests they can take down the Thunder Dragon of Geo Mountain. He also wants Zealork to help them cross several ravines, and asks if Zealork can handle these tasks. Zealork completely ignores everything and comments that the weather is nice today. This annoys Albus, and he asks if Zealork is ignoring him on purpose.
Make sure to subscribe, or this little guy might get sad. Seriously, if you subscribe, this dog will love you forever. So hit that button right now.